In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to make text boxes with sort of parchment effects on them, so it looks like torn and old worn out paper on the edges, using both Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. So to start with, I'm just going to create a new file, and I'm going to let this be about the size of, for example, the back of my cereal box that we're working on. And I'm going to go in here, I'm going to use the rectangle tool, regular rectangle, white fill, black stroke, and I'm going to make a box. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward so far. Let's zoom in on this. And what I want to do next is I want to take my box and apply some effects to it. So I go to the effects menu. I'm going to use the distort menu in the effects, and I'm going to choose roughen. Now I'm going to use preview because I want to see what this is going to look like when I'm done. And I want to limit how many aberrations there are per inch. So the 6 per inch is a pretty small piece actually, so I'm going to go to 5 or 4, and you can kind of slide with that until you like what you see. And the size is going to cause either a lot of craziness or just a little bit. And with this one, I just want to start, all I'm trying to do actually is get those points, because I'm going to move them around manually later. So I like what I see. I could choose smooth, but it just makes it wiggly. But it's important to know what your options are when you're doing this. So it looked like this before. Okay, trying to get the preview to disappear, and it's not doing it. So I'm going to take this and click OK. Next, I need to make these points editable because I want to be able to select each of those corner points, and I can't do it yet. So before I do that, I want to perhaps make a copy of this should things go wrong. And there's my, let's try this again. Duplicate the path. So I'm going to take this one and lock it and hide it. So the one I'm working on is this. Now what I want to be able to do is take these individual points, these corners, which are not yet points, and I want to be able to adjust them to create the path I want on the edge of this to make it look like that parchment paper. Now right now, if I click on the appearance menu, the appearance panel, what I can see is my stroke size, my fill color, my opacity. If I open the roughen panel, I can actually adjust this for now. So I can change the size. Okay, I can mess around with this right now. However, what I want to be able to do is I want to adjust these individual points, and to do that I need to make this no longer part of the effect. So I'm going to take the object menu and choose expand appearance, and as you'll see, the roughen item will disappear from the appearance menu, and there it is. So now we have an object which is called a group. The group consists of two different pieces, one of which is the outside path and one of which is the fill on the inside. Now to make this easier, I actually want to just get the inside, so I'm going to take this and ungroup it, and take the inside part and make it go away. So I just want to have the path on the outside. Okay, now I still have the original version back here in my layers panel, but it's there as a backup should things go wrong for me later on, so it saves me a little bit of work. So here's this piece, and I'm going to use the direct selection tool, the white arrow, and I'm going to move these individual points around a little bit. Now, by cutting out the inside fill, I no longer am in danger of just adjusting one or the other, and I can always put the fill back in place later on. We're actually going to color this in Photoshop rather than in Illustrator because it's going to allow us to do some effects that we may not have easy access to here in Illustrator. So I'm going to take these points. I'm just trying to make it look like worn out map paper, parchment paper from a couple hundred years ago, the edge of a pirate map, you know, an old worn out Constitution paper. So if the variety of reasons why you might want to use this. So here it is a few minutes later, and having worked out some of these corners and moved it around, I've been able to create something that I feel pretty good about. Sometimes you can take points away by selecting if you need to, and clicking this button here, which is remove selected anchor points instead of delete. You can also add points by using the add anchor point tool. So if I want to add another corner point here, I'm going to add 3 points. You have to click right on the thing, right on the path, or it'll laugh at you and make fun of you and not give you the point. So there's 3 points, and I want to create sort of a unpredictable pattern on each side, and I want to make these corners look like they're bent into shape or worn out from the edge. We're going to add some color and effects to this in Photoshop. So first I have to save this I'm going to go to this folder here. I'm going to call this box sample 2. I don't care what you call yours, that's what I'm going to call mine because it's part of my sample for my demo. Okay, next I'm going to go over to Photoshop, which I already have open. Here's my previously worked on piece, and I'm going to go open up the other one. We have the line here, and I want to make sure I don't mess up my line work. So I've got this on one layer. I'm going to name this by double clicking it. I'm going to call it line. It's a really good idea to name your layers so you know what's in them without having to turn them off or on to make things disappear. Make a layer called color. I'm going to make a layer called shading or effects 1. Yeah, that'll make it easy. I'm going to go effects 2. Oops. There we go. Effects 2. And I'm going to make one more effects layer just for kicks, just to see what I can do. Effects 3. Now my goal is to find a way to make Photoshop do the work for me so it's nice and easy. Again, if I turn off the line layer, it disappears. If you're not sure what's in a layer, turn it off and on, hide it and show it, and you'll find out what's there. I'm going to go to the color layer. I'm going to use my magic wand tool, and I'm going to use contiguous and sample all layers because I'm on a layer that has nothing else on it. So if I click, it selects the area inside of that line. Now if I fill this in with, let's pick a parchment type color. I'm thinking kind of a yellowish. Now the problem with that, if I deselect and zoom in, is there's actually a small gap between the color and the line. So what I actually want to do instead of that is once I have the selection active, I'm going to go select, modify, and expand in about 3 pixels. And you can see now the line goes underneath, the selection goes underneath the line, as will my fill color. Now I'm going to go to my next layer up, and I'm going to try to burn the edge of the paper. So burning the edge of the paper, I'm going to use sort of a darkish color of gray. I'm going to use a brush tool, and I'm going to set my brush to about 100 pixels or 200 pixels, and that's a soft edge on it. Notice that the edge is soft in the brush panel here, and that's affected by the hardness of the brush. As 100% would be a hard edge brush, and 0 would be a very soft edge brush. So I don't want to get too serious with it. I'm going to reduce the size a bit. I'm also going to mess with my opacity of my brush. Now 100% opacity would look like this, and it would lay the line in, in the center of it would be completely opaque, not see-through. If I crank it all the way down, it doesn't make too much at all. So I'm going to make my brush, it's kind of like working with watercolors, a little bit of time, the transparent method, and as I burn that in just a little bit of time, even that's a bit much. So I'm going to bring it down to below 20%, and if you want to try some other stuff out, try looking at your brushes menu. And there's some other things we can do to this to add, for example, noise. And that's just going to create that sort of dotted appearance you see on the edge. So no noise with noise. So I can do this. And now the edges are burnt. Digitally, with no fire. Okay, and I'm going to apply a filter. I'm going to use the render and clouds. So there's that. So the clouds are allowing me to have more texture to my paper. Again, it's been around for a while. It's kind of clouded. It's kind of messed up. And there I have it. On this next layer, I'm going to go up and I'm going to add. Okay, so this is going to allow me to add noise. Now the noise, add noise, is just going to dot that up. And to get rid of that a little bit, I'm going to change the opacity. So to work with these effects layers, applying some opacity can help me control the appearance a bit. So I'm just going to use my lasso tool and select the area in the middle where I'm later going to put some text in Illustrator. And I used feathering on the edge so it would fade into the middle. So now I deselect my selection and I save my document, and I'm going to go open it in Illustrator. So back in Illustrator, the reason I'm going back to Illustrator is because it's a lot easier to add text and control a lot of other things in terms of text. Illustrator is a good vector program, but you can bring Photoshop documents back into it. So here I would add some text, and if I want to apply some effects to those text, I can do that using some of my other tutorials that we have. But then you can bring this into some other document, and you're all set to go.